This is Critical Nonsense, our high-lowbrow show about culture, science, and tech. This week, I ask Aaron and Joey about pursuing the maybe first ever vanilla cookie, and Aaron introduces a new micro-segment to tell us about tennis grunts.
Woo! Thank you for minding your own. Mind your own damn business. This is what a Joey sounds like.
It was gonna be Elton John. This is what Aaron sounds like. I couldn't get there. It was a mess.
This is what an executive producer and Billy Ocean hit single "Love Really Hurts Without You" Jess Vander sounds like.
Hi, this is Jess.
You know, I don't know that people know that Jess is actually incredibly musical. And one of these days, I'm waiting for Jess to just break out in whatever inane thing we throw as an introduction and see what happens.
I'm prepared. It's just that not a single one of the songs are ones I know. I'll wait.
Yeah.
And expect to still never know a reference.
Love really hurts without you. Love really hurts through and through. You're breaking my heart. What can I do? I said, baby. Sorry.
Joey
I just had to do
karaoke,
it.
everyone.
But people don't know how much fun it is to do karaoke with Joey. Although I have to say that with my own recognition that I walked out last time and I shouldn't have, and I'm aware and I felt it coming.
We'll never let you down.
I'm so sorry.
Let it down. Live it down. We'll
Live
never
it.
let you live it down.
I was not hurt. That's not fair.
Yeah,
I was just
okay. It's okay.
I was disappointed because I was so excited to sing with you. I was
and
like,
so therefore was hurt. Maybe.
The thing you need to know about me is like, I don't plan for the future very much. I'm trapped in the moment. We've spoken about this. And so when there's like a thing in the week that is exciting, I'm like, I'm living for that moment. And then I missed the moment. And I've not gotten over it. It still hurts.
I will write down and leave next to me on my computer the fact that via karaoke, I did not hurt Joey. I disappointed him. That is
true.
But no, I heard, and I will course correct in the future. And I love you, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you for hearing that I was actually trying to wound you in the process of telling you that I was wounded.
Right.
I'm glad that there was some reciprocity in our friendship. Go buy Critical Nonsense merch.
Whoa.
That's a thing.
I guess.
I don't know. I'm like, what's our housekeeping? Buy a shirt.
Yeah,
not because we're making any money off of it. We're not. It's just, you know, like you need a sweatshirt.
Represent this very niche cultural hole you found yourselves in with us.
And can't climb out of without a sweatshirt.
Who doesn't need an Aaron Powers Mind Wine purple crew neck sweatshirt? It's beautiful.
Ooh. Not to mention, I'm not going to do any spoilers, but Jess's sweatshirt might be incredibly relevant for the conversation we're going to have today.
Whoa.
What does Jess's sweatshirt say again?
So vanilla.
Which is how I would describe.
I mean, it's sublime. Like, again, vanilla is superior to everything.
Subtle, complex.
Jess, can you pour us a glass of vanilla mind wine?
But also, I bought Joey's sweatshirt, the fucking A sweatshirt that I don't feel comfortable wearing in public, but is fucking awesome. And as the team knows, unfortunately, I washed it, and it all the lettering washed out before I even got a chance to wear it. I was trying to wash out the dye, not the words. So these sweatshirts are very high quality. Go get one; it's worth it.
So very high quality.
Go to thisisnonsense.com. There's some links to the merch. We'll put it in the show notes. Jess, talk to us about the new Chronicles of Vanilla.
Okay. So it's fair if you are tired enough of hearing me talk about vanilla and you just want to skip ahead to the second segment of this conversation. I totally get it. However, if you're interested to know what is going on with me and with vanilla, stay tuned. Okay, so here's what's going on. So as part of our culture and learning budget at Sylvain, which has a very, very free list of use cases. It will probably surprise no one that my immediate thought was, how can I funnel this budget to spend it on vanilla? And something that I've talked about with my brother Ben ad nauseum is the fact that vanilla very consistently only really appears as a non-flavor. And in certain foods, it's like, say, vanilla ice cream, which is probably the most prominent vanilla flavored thing. It's not, how do I describe this? It just doesn't feel like it is the purest encapsulation of vanilla in food.
It's cream with vanilla.
Yeah, it just, there's like other things, and it doesn't feel like vanilla is at the front. And, one time he and I were talking about,
always a bridesmaid.
How come vanilla, there's a chocolate chip cookie. How come there's not a vanilla cookie? There's a peanut butter cookie. How come? Why is there no vanilla cookie? And it really got me thinking and looking around, only to realize that there are so many different like vanilla adjacent cookies. There's butter cookies, sugar cookies, sprinkle cookies, maybe the closest Nilla wafer. There's all these like adjacent concepts, but nothing quite like the equivalent of a chocolate chip cookie, but for a vanilla inclined being such as myself. And I kept asking, like, why doesn't this exist? I don't know. And so, of course, coming into, a very limited budget, I was destined to try to figure out how to bring this cookie into the world, create a vanilla cookie. And a few days ago, I think I did it. It's a weird thing. Maybe it's like wrong to say like, oh, I like made the first blank ever, but I genuinely just like haven't been able to find it. So if someone has, like, I'm happy to concede that I did not like create the world's first true vanilla cookie. But for now, I'm like resting in this space. And I was so thrilled with myself. At first, I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. Like, wow. And then everything came crashing down around me immediately. And let me tell you about it, right? Because
you wilted like an orchid, a vanilla orchid.
Well, my whole question had been like, why doesn't this exist? And then it became so obvious. Like, not that I hadn't thought about it, but like really all of the practical obstacles became personally clear to me. Obviously in the abstract, you can think, oh, it'll be very expensive, and certainly, right? To put the 3 types of vanilla that I included, which was vanilla paste, vanilla powder, and vanilla sugar, are not things that are affordably present in most pantries. And so that alone is a huge hurdle. And then, day one, the flavor was like so amazing. Like, I was afraid for a while that it would sort of be, because most cookie recipes have vanilla in it, it would sort of be not like pow, punch you in the face vanilla enough, but it did feel like that to me. And so that was really exciting. And then I tried another one the next day, and it was like not good. It was just it wasn't. And I was like, oh, cool. So this is the timing that you have to eat this cookie is like immediately or bust. There's no like travel of this flavor because it deteriorates so quickly. And then I just started thinking about all the practicalities. And then, of course, it just presents me with this question of, what do you do when you find yourself so excited about something and then realize there are so many obstacles in your way? When should you keep going when all you see ahead of you are troubles?
First of all, that was a Joey K. Meyer level intro. I'm going to give that props. Second of all, love that this question started at what would be sneakily thought of as just a vanilla question, but is totally existential on me.
Which is an Aaron Powers question.
Which is an Aaron Powers question. Like, how did you do that? That's elegant. That's
Well, I have to bring. I'm the one who's into vanilla, so I need to appeal to my audience in some way. Roundabout, maybe.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna run headlong into the ennui because again, that's happy place. I do feel as though the revelation is the hardest part, or it's the revelation that is just completely dipped in disillusionment when you had so many thoughts about what something could, should, or otherwise must be,
right?
And then you realize that there is no buttress supporting it and no tethers laced down to hold it in place, and what you thought was a thing is in fact not a thing. Like it's just not gonna. And it doesn't even feel in this context with this cookie that it's not like it's never going to happen. It's just like, it doesn't need to be done.
Or like,
it's too hard.
Or maybe it does, but like, is it quite literally insurmountable? Like, is this thing that I just came up against the reason why no one else has tasted this thing that I've tasted?
But what's interesting to me is like, there are beautiful things that we know about in other capacities that are really hard and face similar issues. And we're like, yeah, no, that's great. Like a day old croissant is ass. Like it is just like
it is full blown ass booty. I agree.
Yeah, it is like not good. But like a fresh croissant is like life changing sometimes. Like
true.
if you have and it's like that's not the only food that does that. Like the idea of like, making that type of cookie for an event you're going to, or for a bakery that sells out all of their goods on a daily basis to make them make sense. It's just not a like mass market reproducible thing, but like most beautiful things are not, and like that's okay. So like to me, there are sort of boundaries to it that make it more precious, not less. I don't know. That's like how I'm interpreting your story.
Well, and I think what was such a thing for me was realizing, it makes a lot of sense why it's so hard to share this with the world. Like this is actually quite difficult to recreate. And yes, maybe if there's enough demand for croissant everywhere, then we can have them. And I'm still holding out hope. I also have a freezer batch test where I want to see if the freezer deteriorates the flavor, or if I can, if that can maintain the quality until freshly baked or something like that. But, at best, even if precious, that still goes counter to the aspiration, which was, wow, all these chocolate people, if only they could be persuaded by the widely available vanilla cookie.
There's like this chasm that I've been playing around with for no good reason between the known and the unknown and the unknown and the unknowable, where it's like there are these things in these sorts of situations with a flavor. Like flavor is such a specific, complex thing. You try to preserve it. Is it just one of those things that when you run into that wall of like, no one can have this, it might have just sunk into that other space. It might have jumped over the bridge from unknown to unknowable. Like maybe in concept, that perfect vanilla flavor can be preserved and delivered en masse or at a certain time, but maybe it just is in the unknowable because of how complex it is. I don't know. I just wanted to give you this little framework that's been bouncing around my head while I've been hanging out.
I mean, I think while I can't like directly respond to the framework, like the points that you're associating with it is like some of what I was like the complexity component of it is, I think, this question of pursuing these types of questions is around this, like either whether it's a deep appreciation of complexity or a sort of motivation to like pursue complexity, right? Which like I think is sort of what you're talking about, Aaron, right? It's like the unknowable exists, and yet you're like, it's like known unknowns, unknown unknowns.
I was about
and
to.
then
I
the
was
unknowable.
literally.
Yeah.
I was gonna Donald Rumsfeld it. Was it Donald Rumsfeld?
No, the
I don't know.
woman. Annie, what's her name? And
Leibowitz. No, I just geography is on my mind. That's all.
What's her name?
Yeah, I just think like because I related a lot to. I was not expecting one of the topics we had mentioned ahead of the show to come in any way back to your story about vanilla, but when you started to close it around sort of like the idea of pursuing a thing that is like much more complex or more difficult than you were anticipating, and like I'm sort of pursuing one of those things where I'm like, it would be really good if this existed. Why doesn't this exist?
Yeah.
Right. I've been trying to build like a sci-fi D&D like story and world, and I'm like having to like port over character classes and like doing all of these things. And I'm like, this is a lot more, like a lot of nerds put a lot of time into building that original thing, and I'm trying to be like, can me and my friends do this thing? But like I still want that thing and I appreciate like the nuance, and so I'm just like furthering and furthering myself down this hole, and that idea of like, are you a type of person who appreciates nuance and complexity? And like, if you are one of those people, like this may just always sort of be that kind of wall that you run into, or like at least in the areas where you appreciate nuance and complexity. I feel like people who are very into wine or whatever like feel this way.
Yeah, and it's also right. It's like, how bad do you want the outcome? Like, how much do you want just the output, but you don't really want to put in the work to that is like the inputs required to get it? And like that's the thing I think for both you and me, Joey, where it's like, it's not that I didn't expect to put in the work. It's just like, oh, it is more than I bargained for. And the idea was so clean and pristine in theory. Now it's just sort of like, you know, it's just like facing what the music. Well, how does the idiom go?
Yeah, facing the music.
Yeah. Aaron, I'm curious because I feel like you're so good at
a compliment.
Planning and a certain level of pragmatism, and also you have like endeavored in a lot of creative projects, and so I'm wondering whether you feel this thing in the same way, or if you, in sort of that way that you think about things, if you have like a better appreciation for what you're getting into at the beginning, or you're just like Jess and I, like hopeless optimistically like running into a thing and then hitting a wall straight on.
I do have a different relationship with it, I think. I think that Katie Sadow and I have talked about each other as like Doctor Stranges of problems, where like we can see the multiverse of every situation and all the ways that it will go wrong. And therefore we will go this path because we will circumvent all of those other things that could possibly go wrong. And it is terrible because you live in a world of essentially psychosis where you're constantly like seeing threat everywhere. It saps you of trust. Like it's a big deal.
Wow, dark.
So yeah, of course. But I think what I think about whenever I get into like writing and music, because that's probably the place where it's most like personally like present for me, is that I write music the way that y'all approach most other things, which is that like I don't even have like a genre or a tune or whatever in mind. I literally sit down and plunk out different chord progressions until there's something that surprises me. And then once I have a chord progression, I build in different twists, and then I'll start to add lyrics, and that's the poetry part. So it's like, and I never know when I'm done until I'm done. But the difference, it sounds like, is that I'm not in pursuit of something. I'm just like fully creating something.
Yes. It's one thing when you are creating by way of your means, like allowing the creative process to just be like, well, this is all I can do. And that's often what happens with my crafts, I'd say, is like, I only think up things I know I can achievably create. But the problem that I am now realizing is this idea of like, I'm imagining beyond my means. And I am now I can envision a thing that I am individually maybe not capable of bringing into the world alone. And then like all of the questions start to pour out of like, not that it is necessarily impossible. It may not be possible in the way I envisioned it, but then still, is it worth pursuing?
Well, like, I love this. There are two personal anecdotes that come up. One is that, like, I identify with your vanilla cookie with certain Lego mocks. So mocks are MOC, are like, they're creations that people, I cannot believe that I cannot remember what the acronym stands for right now. This is embarrassing. It's like one of the most, it's like not knowing what a spatula is. Like, I am very, very embarrassed. But essentially there are certain ideas.
My own creation?
Thank you. That is accurate.
Google told me.
Google has all the answers. And so there are things now that I've been building for a year that like, and I've started storing and organizing all my sets that like, I'm starting to recognize what pieces are needing to be done. And I know like how to build like with studs out and like whatnot, but I can't, I'm still nowhere near good enough to truly make something that's better than a 4-year-old. Like that's where I'm stuck and I'm fine with it ish. But then the other place is in video games, specifically roguelikes. So I was playing Returnal for a long time. I think I talked about it on the podcast. And the challenge with roguelikes is that the progression from, you know, level 1 through 10, you'll always go up from level 1 through 10, but every time you play, the level is completely changed because it's procedurally generated. And so, and every time you die, no matter how far you get, you go back to stage 1. So you have to replay and you go through all these different experiences over and over again. I could put up with it for
like Hades.
It literally is
Another game.
It is a programmer's. This is why a programmer made it, right? Thanks, developers. But yeah, like I had to give up on it because I couldn't get any satisfaction, even though I knew the goal was like supreme winning of a game,
right? And
that it's a really like essentially all I get is what games are all about, which is just the satisfaction of knowing that you did a thing.
Yeah.
I won't do it anymore. That is not worth the work. And so it is collecting digital dust on my PS5. Go figure. So is this the beginning of the wrap up corner? Question mark. I can't go higher than that.
What began as a bright-eyed, rosy view of a future vanilla cookie. And in fact, let us take a moment now, after going through all of this, you know, the darkness, to appreciate how cool it is to sometimes get an even little glimpse of the thing that wasn't a thing and now is a thing. In my case, that I got to taste the cookie that I have been thinking about for the longest time is really, really cool. But also, that doesn't necessarily solve for this broader question about what is or is not worth our effort to keep pursuing, even if that idea tempts us and sometimes motivates us, but sometimes destroys us in the way of certain video games and other types of things that were once fun and are no longer fun. But I don't know. I think that even just chatting this with you all gives me a little bit of inspiration. I think I have more of it in me. I think there's more to figure out with this thing.
You got this.
Thanks.
You got this, yo. Woohoo. And we're back. Woo. Look at that. Hello. Yeah. Just full blown. Yeah. Oh, God, I'm really completely freaked out the dog. Fair listeners, you have been invited into a question for our mini segment that is going to be heretofore known as let me tell you something. And is the name just came up on the fly. So there's a question that's been bugging around in my head, and so Jess and Joey, I want to bounce it off of you as well, and you already know.
You have to use the segment name after the question is posed, or in additional context. Yeah. So.
Right. Okay. So and I'll give so the mini context is when I'm walking the dog, I walk past 2 different tennis courts on the walk. Like, I cannot avoid a tennis court because there's one in either direction. And the other night, there's this, like, I don't know, 10-year-old kid who's probably practicing with his coach, just bellowing every time he hits the ball. It's like guttural, like the world is ending, like every time he's hitting this tennis ball. And I'm seeing this, like, this tiny little, like, angelic looking child just, like, looking like he's exploding with rage. And then, like, I'm expecting him to full blown, and it is. And so there's, why are mine just like Crash Bandicoot
Yours
noises?
is like
Yours are
Street
actually,
Fighter.
yeah. I took it to, I don't do it as well as you guys. I haven't played tennis since I was like 20.
That I'm in right now, it is having the echo effect every time. it like actually.
You're at the U.S. Open, and so
Aaron.
let me tell you something. I worked it in. I just want to know, why do tennis players grunt? And I guess I have to just answer it because this is a mini segment, and I get a little research to figure it out.
Isn't it just like fake, or isn't it like, I feel like it's just the thing you mimic the pros do? No.
There's so many hypotheses.
Okay.
I just want to know what a couple. So what are those your hypotheses? And then Joey, I want to hear your hypotheses.
I also do feel like there is something to be said about like contracting your like the muscles to like put as every ounce of force in, but that feels like the water in the bagels thing feels like it's more of a myth. But you tell me.
I think my mind was going like, yelling is like a known way to get that like big abdominal contraction and like expulsion of air. And so by like yelling is easier to remember. It's like a rote thing that comes with like a big chain of movements. And my assumption is that it is like in some ways affected, you know, even if it's like a 10% increase in like strength or something, that it's effective, but I have no idea.
Like, can you squeeze? I guess my question is like, can you squeeze force from your abdomen to your arm? Is that how that goes?
Kinetic linking, kinetic chain.
Okay, Aaron, I need to be told something.
I got to tell you something.
Let me listen to something.
Yeah.
Allow me to hear things. I just wanted to switch it up.
Yeah, you say, let me tell you something, and then I just say, allow me to listen, good sir.
Yes, there's a monocle floating by. I don't know why. It's completely disembodied, but I feel that that's necessary to this. Yeah, like
it's a single lost lens. Yep.
And Mr. Peanut is wearing it, but the Monopoly Man is not. So
I doff my bowler.
Indeed. So just as a qualifier, or like interestingly enough, Maria Navratilova has actually gone on record saying that grunting in tennis is cheating, pure and simple. And yeah, it is a hot and spicy topic in the world of tennis. The short answer is that you're both probably right, and there's a lot of people who actually call out many different reasons. When it comes to the Tim Allen more power answer, in fact, in different studies, grunting increases ground strike hitting velocity 3.8%. It actually will increase the speed of a serve. So grunting actually, people who grunt when they are serving will serve 7 kilometers an hour faster than those who don't grunt.
Wow.
How do you, are you controlling for like who's doing the grunting?
You're going to have to check out studies,
okay.
Because I understand that studies have these answers in them, and that might be there. But so power is one thing. Another, which you just brought up as well, is mirroring. So sometimes a player is not mirroring pros, but they're mirroring the other player. And it's a way of actually getting in sync and creating like a balance to actually push against. Another reason that it comes up as well that Martina Navratilova brings this up is that it's, of course, intimidating and distracting.
Yes.
Like when you've got somebody shouting at you from 40 feet away as they throw like a ball, and the ball's coming so far. That's freaky.
Yeah, it's true. That's scary.
So it amps
to me,
up
it doesn't
the
feel like cheating feels far because it's not explicitly in the rules that you can't do it, and both parties could do it. So I feel like she's gone a bit far.
But it's OP.
Agreed.
but it's OP, it sounds like. Like,
yeah, well,
it has a lot of benefits.
It does. And actually, to the point about like it going kind of far, like I have yours is so good. It's so good. Having only listened to tennis players play 4 times a day for over a year, you nailed it. But one thing about that hot take of hers is that, and this is my hypothesis, this is not like the others, which is actually true, which is that there is like tennis is a sport of propriety. It is a sport of the country clubs. It is a sport that is intended to be sort of like aligned with quote unquote the civilized, and grunting is not civilized. And so I have a lot of feelings that, and John McEnroe is the poster child, bad boy at tennis. Like when you take something that is supposed to be laced with propriety, I really, the bad boy of tennis. Let's go. Why? Like I'll start talking about golf in a minute, but like breaking through those, like identifying those proprieties, punching through them and standing out, of course, is a way to stand out in a sport that needs to be updated. So
Martina, get your oligarchy out of my tennis.
Immediately. I think that she's doing like her hot take is a grunt in and of itself. And I think that is really, really meta and cool.
Now, let me tell you about the time I was playing golf with Arnold Palmer.
Yes.
That boy
While
can
drinking.
grunt. He would turn
Arnold
back
Palmer.
with his chipper and let loose the winds of time from his guttural charges. I don't know.
I liked it. I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, the only other thing that you should know, and this goes to the two of you, is that a sports psychologist from Roehampton University, thanks Wikipedia, actually also called out that rhythm is a part of it. So grunting, in addition to just mirroring behavior, actually will allow you to get into a rhythm as a player. So that your allows you to feel how you're going to break rhythm or strike rhythm between them. So, the grunt is not just for good TV that we all watch for hours and hours and hours every weekend. It makes the game better. And so you can go to your cocktail party and share that with your friends.
Let me listen something.
And you have now, you done listen. Boom. Beans.
You done
Thanks for listening.
Critical Nonsense is a Sylvain production.
Brought to you by the weird combination of smells of vanilla and a tennis ball container that are opening at the exact same time, because it's kind of weird and those shouldn't be in the same place unless you're baking at the US Open.
As always, we'd like to thank executive producer and Jess Vander.
We'd also like to thank One Love, Alex Contel, sound engineer.
We'd like to thank Game Point Match and programming coordinator Les Jacobs.
I am completely out of tennis metaphors. Thank you, Sarah Gilbert and Nora Mestrich, for all of the work that you do every week. Indeed.
And thank you, Sorry Len. Bye.
Bye.
Special thanks apparently to John McEnroe.
Don't
know enough about him to know whether we can say that or not.
Next episode, we're talking about cursing, and we're going to bring up McEnroe again. We're doing that.
I would like to give a special thanks to Hey Lala Vanilla, the purveyor of vanilla that supplied me with all of the necessary pastes, powders, and sugars. They also have extracts. You should check them out. I think they're based in Australia. No, they can't be. Tonga? Where are they based? I need to know. I'll get back to you.
I'd like to thank my friends that are entertaining me through this new creation of sci-fi D&D story, including Jess. We are going to be potentially making it a pod or Twitch stream, so be prepared. Maybe you can also consume our future.
Wow. I'm terrified and excited for this. Wow.
Corrections department, it was New Zealand. Sorry. Aaron, go.
Oh, double corrections department, but it sort of doubles down on not being a corrections department. It was Donald Rumsfeld who said the known knowns and the known unknowns, but then also it was Martina Navratilova not Maria Navratilova. Maria Navratilova is hanging out with Noah Centineo.
Noah
Centino. Yeah, they hang out, and I assume that they play rugby. This has been delightful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And soon I will share a cookie. Maybe.
Please. I need vanilla. Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.